Hi, my name is John Arnold. I'm an executive coach and consultant, and I'd like you to welcome to another segment of Appetizers for Success. Today's guest is Pat Dudash. I've known Pat for quite a while now. Pat is a senior vice president with Accelerate Group. Accelerate Group is an industry leader nationwide in the auction and facilitation business in the automobile industry. I want to read you a little bit about Pat's background, and you'll understand a little bit more about what a warrior he is in a tough industry. Pat's been with companies such as Alamo Rent-A-Car, JM Family Enterprise, Southeast Toyota, Auto Trade Center, Flow Automotive Group, Auto Nation, Odessa, and Insurance Auto Auctions. He brings 25 plus years of experience in an industry that is just a really tough industry, especially with what we've been experiencing in the pandemic going back 5 or 6 months now. So Pat, thanks so much for joining us.
You're welcome, John.
I'm excited that you're here. And if you would just spend a couple of minutes taking us through the transition of what business was like prior to the pandemic, so that our audience has a sense for where you've come from and how you and your company are operating now.
Thanks for having me again, John. So back in the middle of March, where the auto industry is coming out of times of winter and getting into the spring and what we call the spring market. And the spring market is that everybody is getting excited. Tax season is around the corner. They're going to be getting their checks back. If they planned their businesses the right way and went through the process, and they get their checks back. And usually that brings into the auto auction space dealers to buy more cars because more people are coming onto their lots because they have money in their pocket to spend. And it's been traditional throughout my 25 years plus in the industry. At the auction level, we get excited as operators, as employees of the auction at the physical location, because more and more buyers start to come out looking for cars. Typically that drives prices up, which satisfies our sellers because they're always looking to maximize the profits that they can make on selling their vehicles wholesale to the dealers. And typically the sellers are other dealers or financial institutions such as a GM Financial, repo companies, because some people are defaulting on their loans. So there's a mix. Rental car companies are selling some of their fleet. So there's a myriad of different types of vehicles that are coming to the auction. More buyers are coming. And so the middle of March, things were moving along really well. And then the COVID hit. And when the COVID hit, everybody knows they've experienced it in their local market, whether governed by a local municipality and what business they may work at, or was it more of a state mandated different policies, et cetera. So having 20 different operations in a multitude of states between California, Florida, Michigan, and Texas, and all parts in between, we had to deal on a local level with the issues. So from a corporate standpoint, we couldn't necessarily put in guidelines for them because the guidelines were different across each state.
Okay.
And down to their municipality. So we had conference calls every day with all of our operators to get updates of who did they talk to, what is the mayor of your city saying, what is your county leadership saying, what's the latest statement, the 3 o'clock interview with your governor. So we could get that and take all that information down and then help guide them to make certain decisions. But in general, depending on the physical locality of the auctions, some had to greatly reduce their business, which an auction runs 1 day a week where it offers vehicles for sale, but we operate 7 days a week, sometimes 24 hours, taking vehicles in and out. So physically, people are at the auction all hours of the day, including the weekends and at nights. So in some cases, for example, in Michigan, we had to stop operations. We could not have anybody other than an employee in a building, and no more, for example, 10 people in one building, and no dealers were allowed on the lot, and we could not facilitate a sale.
Wow.
Yeah. In other auctions, we could go virtual, and hence nobody could come on the lot. But we were outbound calling people, letting them know that you couldn't come on our lot, but here's how you log in and you can buy online. So we developed a pretty fast strategy to go into the online automobile wholesale buying. The good news is we've already been doing it for many, many years.
Okay.
And our competition as well. But some did it better than others early on. And our business went from a 10% online participation to nearly 35% online participation. So we've had to adjust the way to do business after the middle of March, and it continues to this day. So I hope I answered your question.
Yeah, Pat, that's great. How would you describe because I know you're an expert when it comes to providing an amazing customer experience. How would you describe the way the customer is acting or behaving now than they were pre-COVID days?
Well, they've all adapted to not being able to physically come to the auction. And when I say they all have, not every one of them, but in a certain way, they understand what the new rules are. So they've had to adapt because primarily in the past, like I had said, 10% were online. That means 90% were physically coming to the auction. Many do come to the auction still as it's been permitted by certain municipalities where we're operating our businesses, but they want to come the day before, 2 days before, and be on their own, alone, so to speak, looking at the vehicles that they want, taking their notes, and then during the sale, they'll be at the comfort of their home where they can bid and buy online. You have to imagine an auction it's a lane of vehicles, let's say 100 coming through one lane, and the opportunity for different buyers to buy those vehicles, it's a huddled mass. And it always has been a huddled mass, and everybody wants to get closer, be up near the vehicle to see it, and be able to make their bid recognized. Now we limit the number of people that can come in on sale day. For a while, we did invitation only. So they've had to adapt to what the rules are, and the rules are that we want our people to be safe, but we also want our customers to be safe. So where it's required that they wear a mask, they must wear a mask to come in the building. If they get outdoors and they're in an area where they're social distancing, they can take their masks off. But when they want to come back into the building to bid on a car, knowing that they may get closer to somebody, we require that they wear a mask. And they've all adapted very well.
Yeah, Pat, one thing I know about you and your reputation is you're a very people-oriented and very people-focused individual leader, I should say. How have your teams, your employees adapted to, the different environment?
They've accepted it. Unfortunately, like every business, when business really slowed down, we had to make a financial decision for our investors as how are we going to handle this. We had discussed possibly closing down, like just all 20 operations, don't operate them for a month. We ran that calculation. We also ran the calculation of a decrease in workforce via furlough of 50%, 30%, 20%. And then we had to throw into that equation, how many cars could we sell? Because if you're an auction and you're open for business and 1 week you're selling 1,000 cars every week consistently, and all of a sudden you don't have even 100 in inventory because the dealerships are shut down by the local municipalities and can't do their work. Right. So they can't bring cars to you because they're not allowed to go into the dealership. So our volumes would go down, and we would have to equate the discount and volume number versus what discounted employees to manage the new number. And so that's what we did. And but as the business came back, and it came back like a roaring tiger, and a lot of people, can't get their hands around how and why did that happen. But there's many things that came into play, because not only was it tax season, but all of a sudden there was PPP money, and the government subsidy of the $1,200. All of a sudden, somebody that was going to have $1,000 or $2,000 tax return now may have $3,000 or $4,000 in their pocket.
Mm-hmm.
So it continued in the beginning on that downslide, and we had to furlough to match our inventory, and if we could open and operate our sales. So it was each individual auction. But then as things loosened up and we were able to meet with the municipality people, show them what we were going to do to adhere to the CDC rules or the rules that they were imposing on us, they would allow us to open up. So for example, in Michigan at one point in June, after being closed for nearly 5 weeks, they allowed them to open, but you couldn't run a vehicle through the auction. You just did it on a picture. So all of our vehicles have about 12 to 15 pictures that are available for a preview before the sale. But when somebody would come online to buy a vehicle online, we had video cameras in each auction's lane that they could see the car come through.
Okay.
They wouldn't let us run them through, but you could sell them on the pictures. So we started out selling them on pictures.
Wow.
And so we just continued to adapt. And as the people got the money, and the dealerships started to reopen, people started coming back to the dealerships, buying vehicles. The dealers' inventory got lower. They came to us. We were able to open back up, and it's been a continuing, like I said, roar like a tiger since probably beginning of June.
Wow, what a journey. And it sounds like you and your leadership team really adapted and flexed up and created a new strategy very quickly. Pat, on a different level, the one thing I do know about you is you're a master at developing and leading high-performing teams. So for our audience, can you talk about what a high-performing team looks like, or what's the journey to get a team to be a high-performing team in a general context?
Sure. So during these most recent times, high-performance teams have become, well, first of all, when you furlough a certain percentage, you're losing members of the teams. However, the team members that you're keeping, the decisions on who to keep are people that are able to multitask. So somebody that has been trained in a different position within the company, for example, maybe they worked in customer service after the sale, meaning after we sell the 1,000 cars like we do every week in some auctions, there's a lot of customer service follow-up that's needed because the dealer has a problem with this. The title doesn't look this way when he took it to the DMV. The car arrived after he bought it and it wasn't what we described in our online pictures and online condition report. So people have to be able to answer those questions and go to the right area.
Sure.
Maybe they move from customer service to sales, and then maybe they're in sales, they're really good, and they move to sales management. Well, now you have somebody that's been in sales, been in customer service, been in sales management. They become more valuable than somebody that's been in the same time that they have, but only been in customer service and never felt comfortable to step out into a different role. So the people in building these strong teams as we go forward are the people that have the ability to multitask because of their step-by-step positions that they took in growing their career.
Pat, aside from being able to multitask, what are some characteristics that you would use to define a high-performing team? What are some of the behaviors or characteristics that you would use in describing a high-performing team?
In the automotive business, and you mentioned it early, it's a grinding business. Everybody has their experience of the used car dealer or the used car salesperson, and to a certain extent, it's true. they want a lot of things for nothing. And a lot of customers in different areas of different businesses want that. But I see it more in this industry.
Sure.
Any dollar that they can save is one more dollar in their pocket because they're able to still transact at a higher dollar value to the end user or the retail customer. So people that can deal with the behaviors of our customer, again, being the used car dealer, have certain attributes of toughness themselves.
Mhm.
When a customer in our industry deals with you and you don't protect your side or what you know it is right and you give in, they continue to come after you and come after you. So the ability to sell what you believe is true to be sold, whether it's in customer service, whether it's in asking for the business, or whether it's managing the people that do so, that you have to be able to portray what your own values are in your position to be able to overcome those tough customers. And that resilience is what makes people in our side of the business as ground level employees last and do well in our company.
Yeah, resilience. We tend to hear that word a lot every day, don't we?
Yes, we're all resilient these days.
Well, I think we have to be, don't we? So
Yes.
Pat, I just so appreciate you making the time to talk with me today. The stories and conversations that you've shared with me transcend across so many other industries in how companies have had to adapt, change their strategy, work with, to your point, local governments, municipalities, et cetera. Do we open, don't we open? And there are still a number of industries that are fighting that. We're seeing that in real life down here in South Florida for sure. But the lessons learned around high performing teams really transcends across any business that's in the customer service business. So I really appreciate you sharing your expertise with us today.
Thank you, John.
Thanks so much.
Pleasure was mine.
Take good care, Pat.
All right. Bye-bye.